One of the questions I get the most is how can I get more money to save and invest? There are really only two ways to do that. Number one is earn more money, increase your income. And number two is decrease your expenses. It's pretty basic. Make more money, spend less, and the difference between those is what you can invest and save. So let's focus on the second one, how to have more money by cutting down your expenses. Now, there are a lot of things we could talk about budgeting and not spending certain things, but let me make a point first to start off, is spending money isn't necessarily bad. We all have expenses. We need to buy food and gas and housing and even pay for vacations. We have to live our lives. So don't feel guilty if you're spending money on vacations or on some nice shoes, as long as it aligns with your goals and your values. So we're going to talk about some of the mind hacks that you can use to get yourself in the proper mindset to not spend as much as you may have otherwise. Now, these are some of the things that I've done that have worked for me. It may or may not work for you, and if some things don't, add some things to your list. But I want you to think about things that you can get in your mindset about spending and improve your relationship with money, so you don't feel the guilt or the anxiety that comes with money, especially with not having enough money. So you can have more money available to save and invest and grow your portfolio. So the number one money hack to have more money to save and invest is to recognize that we are in a consumer culture that is bombarding us with marketing messages. Our culture is a spending culture. It's not a saving culture like other cultures that save a lot of money. Some cultures in Europe and Japan, they're saving 10 to 20% of their income just as a culture. And Americans don't save a lot of money. It's barely a couple of percent that we save in general. One of the reasons we don't save a lot of money is because of the consumer culture, where every day we see up to 10,000 marketing messages across all platforms, across social media, television, podcasts, radio, billboards. Marketing and an enticement to spend is everywhere. So number one, recognize that we're in that environment, and it's tough to go against the grain and resist that kind of onslaught of marketing messages until we recognize that what is being thrown at us. Billions and billions of dollars are spent trying to get you to part with your money. Sometimes part with your money unnecessarily and part with your money in ways that you don't need to. So think about those messages and be aware of those messages and get out of the stream as much as possible, that stream, that onslaught of marketing content that is coming to you to try to get you to buy something. One of the ways is to try to exercise self-control. So when you see a message, you see something in the grocery store, for example, where it's on the end cap and you think, oh, I need that, then you have to exercise self-control. The easier way to do that, and experts in habit formation talk about this a lot, is to not rely on self-control. Just take yourself out of the situation entirely. So don't turn on the TV. Don't subscribe to content that is just full of ads. Instead of watching network television, watch Netflix that doesn't have ads. Unfollow some of the influencers that are just constantly bombarding you with marketing messages and trying to get you to buy the latest things. Get yourself out of that stream as much as possible so you're not being bombarded with those 10,000 messages a day. Maybe cut it in half. That makes it much easier to resist. Out of sight, out of mind makes it easier to not see those messages and want it, because when the heart and the mind see something they want, then you want it and you're much more likely to go and buy it. So be mindful of the FOMO you feel and the messages you receive. So when you see these messages, stop and ask yourself, does this message or does this product support my goals and my values? Do I want to pursue this? Is this influencer that I'm following, or is this television show and the ads that are in it support my values and my goals, especially financially? And then this product, is this going to help me further my goals? And maybe it is, maybe it's not, but ask yourself that and be mindful of that. Secondly, ask yourself, is this an emotional buy? Am I buying this tub of ice cream because I'm sad or because I really want ice cream? Am I buying these clothes, am I shopping because I have stress or anxiety or because I need a new pair of shoes? Being aware of your emotional state will help you spend less money unnecessarily and help prevent you from buying the things that are just going to end up in a storage unit or going to end up in a closet in your basement that after a couple days you're not going to use because you bought it impulsively. You bought it because you were stressed. So be mindful of the marketing messages, be mindful of the culture we're in, and ask if it fits your values. Number 2 is invest all the pay raises you get into saving and investing. It's a quick money hack. How it works is generally when we start our career, say you're in your 20s, over time people earn more and more money. What happens is people also spend more and more money and they align. The more we make, the more we spend. If you can put that money, that differential, every time you get a raise and increase your savings rate, you're going to accumulate money a lot faster. I have a great uncle who lived when he first got married in a cul-de-sac in a street that was all starter homes. And over the course of his career, he saw his neighbors as they got those raises, they got promotions, they would move to a larger house across town. And one by one, everybody did the same thing. They all moved away. He was the last one to be in that starter home. And he ended up being very, very wealthy because every time he made more money, he would invest it. Whereas his neighbors would increase their lifestyle, increase their spending, commensurate with how much they make. So make a promise or a pact to yourself that as you get raises, you're going to increase the amount of money, the percentage you save every time. Maybe increase your lifestyle a little bit, but the majority of it should go into savings and investing. Because lifestyle creep is a real thing, which is why Americans in general don't save, because our lifestyles go up as the money we make goes up. And what we used to consider a luxury is now a necessity. In college, you go out to eat maybe once a week, once a month, because college students don't have much money or any money. And then as you earn more money, you might be going out to eat 3, 4, 5, 10 times a week, as some of my friends do. Because now what was a luxury is now a necessity because you can afford it. But you're not saving any money. So as you go through life and increase your income, also increase the percentage of money that you're putting away towards savings and investing. Number 3 is price items not in the dollar value of that item, but in the hours worked it's going to take you to buy that item. So have you heard of Tax Freedom Day? Tax Freedom Day this year falls on April 18th. That means that for Americans, we all work on average until April 18th just to pay our taxes. That's 3.5 months. All of that money we earn in January, February, March, and half of April, all of it goes to pay taxes. Anything after that is ours to keep. So we're working for 3.5 months to pay taxes. So when you think of it in terms like that, in January, as you're going to the office and you're working, you're getting your paycheck and thinking all of this is going to go to taxes, it makes you rethink how your taxes are spent. Rethink the rates that you might be paying, and you're going to take more time to try to reduce the amount of taxes you're going to take when you consider you're working that many hours just to pay taxes. And it's the same for us individually. If you want to buy a $3,500 Louis Vuitton bag and you're making $25 an hour, how long do you have to work? How many hours do you have to work to afford that bag? The answer is it will take you 140 hours of labor to afford that bag. That's not including taxes. More with taxes. So it's going to take you about 6 weeks of work to buy that bag. When you view it like that, are you willing to go into work every day for 6 weeks just to own that bag? Maybe you are. Maybe you just love bags, and that's okay, as long as you recognize that's the work that has to go into making that bag or buying that bag. The growth of buy now, pay later really obfuscates that and makes people forget about how much labor, how much time and energy it takes to purchase these things, because everything now is on credit or it's on an installment plan when you go to buy a car. They ask you they don't tell you what the car is. They want to ask you, what can you afford? What's your monthly payment? Companies want you to think in terms of monthly payments and what you can afford and not in the actual cost. So I say take it a step further and think about the actual cost, but think of it in terms of labor and how long is it going to take you to work to be able to afford that. And then maybe you're going to be less likely to buy that, considering that it's going to take you so much time to buy that. And by the way, there's a reason why the owner of Louis Vuitton is the richest person in the world. Those bags are expensive and you may or may not need it. So think about how long it takes you to buy that bag or whatever else you're going to buy. The last one, the fourth one, is use the 7-day rule or the 24-day rule for big expenses. Basically, delay your gratification. If you want to buy something that costs, say, more than $500, wait 7 days. If it costs more than $1,000, wait 24 days to make those big purchases. And chances are, after you sleep on it, you're not going to want that thing nearly as much. Companies rely on us being susceptible to impulse buys, which is why so many items in the grocery store are sold on the end caps. That's when you take the aisle, at the end of each aisle, those are called the end caps. It's the most valuable real estate for a marketer to purchase from a grocery store because people make impulse buys as they walk past the aisle and they see those and they think, oh, I've got to have that. A bag of cookies, a bag of chips, those are the things that are on the end cap aisles because people just grab them. Same with the checkout. That's expensive real estate because the grocery store knows that when you're sitting there just waiting in line, you're going to be looking around at all those candy bars, and a lot of people just grab the candy bars because it's an impulse buy. And that's okay if you're buying a $2 candy bar maybe, but if it's a higher item, then you want to think about it for a while and sleep on it, and you probably won't want it the next day. It's the same principle as not going to the grocery store when you're hungry, because you're going to spend a lot more money shopping when you're hungry. You're going to fill up a cart and you're going to leave the store spending $500 versus going with a list of the 10 or 15 things that you actually need and spending much, much less in the grocery store. So think about waiting to buy purchases. It will cut down on the amount of money that you spend and the amount of junk you're going to have in your house that you didn't need, that you just bought because it was there and it was an impulse buy and you thought it looked good in the moment, and then the next day or a week later you've forgotten all about it. So those are my 4 easy tips, money hacks, to help you mentally shift your mind into thinking more about money and your relationship with money.